Have you ever wondered why some brands are able to grow like crazy with Facebook advertising and others seem to be throwing money down the drain week after week? Most commonly, the brands that are struggling are following outdated advice when it comes to their Facebook advertising. And in this video, I'm going to be revealing the exact secrets that only pro Facebook advertisers really understand. These insights will allow you to turn around your performance overnight. And it's based on my experience from scaling over 150 e-commerce stores. We help them to break through revenue plateaus using these exact strategies I'm going to teach you today. So buckle up and let's get into it. And usually one of the big differences between brands that are able to grow very, very quickly with meta advertising and those that struggle to scale are normally being restricted by one of the most common metrics within the platform, and that is return on ad spend. Return on ad spend is a fantastic metric when you're starting out on the platform and you don't maybe have a large existing customer base, because every dollar that you're putting in, you're seeing a return on it, and generally that is matching up to what you're seeing in Shopify or in your e-com store. However, over time, what starts to happen as you acquire more customers and you have more channels operating and you have more customers returning as they're building out that LTV with your brand, the thing that got you to where you are now actually becomes one of the biggest restrictors of your growth. And that's because you're still trained on this belief that all ROAS is created equally, and that is new customer ROAS or that's incremental ROAS in your performance. But what actually starts to happen is that every gap in your advertising funnel, when it comes to the use of exclusions or the lack of audience segments, allows the algorithm to deliver purchases that are non-incremental. And what I mean by that is these are sales that would have happened regardless of if you were advertising. And it paints a really lovely picture in the ads platform. However, when we look at our overall marketing efficiency, there's often a divide between marketing efficiency and in-platform ROAS. And one of the big dangers is that there are some shady agencies out there that are actually very, very good at manipulating ROAS in platform, and they're able to push the spend up to a threshold point whereby when they increase beyond that point, their tactic becomes very, very clear. So what you need to do in order to actually break through these plateaus is diversify away from ROAS as your North Star metric. ROAS is still a great metric to understand how things are performing, but only in the right setup. And it should also be taken into consideration alongside MER, NCPA, ECPA, and then going into some of the more unit economic metrics, so like contribution margin. And that leads me quite nicely on to one of the biggest hacks within the platform is understanding the metrics that really grow your brand and really grow your brand quickly. And there's this wonderful book by a guy named Byron Sharp called How Brands Grow. And in this book, it covers some of the fundamentals of marketing science. One of the key concepts is that in order for a brand to grow quickly, they need to acquire more customers than they're losing customers. And whilst you might be sitting there thinking, yeah, good one, Andy, we have amazing lifetime value, our returning customer rate is great, whenever people buy from us, they come back and buy time and time again. This is true, but they're also buying from other brands. And one of the other concepts within this book is a concept called double jeopardy, which is that smaller brands have less customers that are less loyal. So that means that they're buying from other people. And the only way that you can reliably grow is to focus on new customer acquisition. And the email marketers will hate me saying this, but you have to understand the cost of acquiring a new customer. And there's a couple of ways that you can do it. One of the easiest ways to do it is to look at your Shopify data, look at first-time customers, divide that by your total media spend or your platform media spend, depending on how many channels you're running. And this is quite a broad metric, but it will give you a good steer. Then if you want to get slightly more sophisticated with this, what you can start to look at from Meta is actually breaking down your spend by the new audience segment or new customer acquisition, and then divide that by the number of new customers through Shopify. Now, for most brands, when they're starting off, this is a really, really useful metric to use. As you start to grow and you start to peak above that £2 million a year, or I think it's about $3 million a year mark, you'll want to invest in more sophisticated tracking and data solutions. And this is where, when you start to look at tools like Triple Whale, they will provide that data for you. Or if you're tapping into a server-side tracking setup with Elevar, or one of our favorites, which is Amos, within this, you can actually track, based on the user profile, how many new customers you're acquiring from your campaigns as an event. So you can track new customer purchases. You can then use that within your campaigns to actually then create a CPA based on an individual campaign level, how much you've spent, how many new customers you've acquired, and then you'll have a really, really good understanding of that growth lever. And to branch this out even further and to get even more professional with how you're looking at the platform and the little bits of data and insights that you can use, you can then take this new customer acquisition metric. You can look at the overall efficiency of your brand and see, are we profitable? Are we in range for what we need to in terms of our contribution margin? And if you are plus minus, say 10, 15% around new customer acquisition, there's still a use case for really ramping up your spend so that when new customer acquisition is good and efficiency in your business is good, you should actually be spending slightly over what you were prepared to pay on new customer acquisition in order to go faster. And kind of leading on to this is, how do you build a meta advertising setup that is designed for acquiring new customers? And most people, again, fall foul of the optimal setup because of this obsession with ROAS that I mentioned in the beginning. When you are so heavily focused on platform ROAS, you tend to do the same things as everybody else. You run advantage shopping campaigns, you run dynamic product ads at the bottom of the funnel, you overspend on retargeting or retention, because these are all of the things that make ROAS look great in the platform. But actually, when we look at studies on incremental benefits of advertising, the things that show the best performance in platform are quite often the least incremental, because they're made up of taking credit for conversions that would already happen. So one of the things that we are really, really fond of is a full funnel paid media strategy. And what we mean by that is we look to find efficiencies within our budgets in terms of not overspending on retargeting or retention, in order to then push that budget up into brand awareness or into reach or traffic campaigns. And again, before I get called out in the comments, I'll be doing another video about how you can utilize these features and really maximize your account performance by tapping into them, because they do work. You just don't know how to do it yet. But stick with me. Over the coming weeks, I'll provide that video for you. But the whole idea behind a full funnel campaign strategy is that there are customers that are in market and they're ready to buy. And this accounts for around 3% of all customers. So these are people that are ready to buy right now. And when you're running your advantage shopping campaigns or your sale campaigns, this is who you're competing for. The problem is that the majority of advertisers advertising on the platform are also playing in this arena. And that's why we see in peak periods like Black Friday or Valentine's Day, those CPMs become incredibly high. And this is where a full funnel strategy comes in. When you truly understand that if you invest in reach or in brand awareness, and I'm not talking 100% budget, I'm talking 20% of your meta budget, pushing it into upper funnel objectives. What it allows you to do, instead of competing on the 3% that are in category now that everybody's fighting over, it allows you to start to build brand recognition, make your brand famous with the people that aren't in market yet, but will be moving into category at some point. And there's a real benefit to doing this. When those users then come into market, so say that it's a trainer customer, if you've built brand awareness, people know your brand, they like your brand, when they're ready to buy that next pair of trainers, instead of them coming into category and being hit by every brand under the sun, they do something completely different. They come into category, they need their trainers, they remember your brand, they go to your website and they buy. Or they go to your website, you hit them with one of your retargeting ads, and that converts them. And generally what we see is that brands that make this investment over 6 months generally will see around a 20 to 30% drop in CPA, but also they increase the revenue potential of the business. And this is one secret that only pro advertisers know about. Now that you know the truth about how a pro really runs a Facebook advertising account, it'll become clear that these insights are not enough. What you need is a clearly defined strategy, a way of measuring that you can trust, and an opportunity to break through those revenue plateaus. So if that's something that you're looking for, and you're wanting to make sure that this year your brand is growing to new levels, click the link below to book a call with our team today. And if you're not ready for that, check out this video where I'll tell you why your Facebook ad strategy might be broken and what you should do about it. We'll see you in the next one.